very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to present First Mining Gold to you all here today. I will be making a few forward-looking statements. We'll drive on from there. So First Mining Gold is one of the largest gold resource bases in Canada. And a couple important things here. All of our projects are in Canada. All of our resources are in Canada. Great jurisdictions, many of them past-producing mines, well understood, metallurgy, lots of infrastructure in great places to develop projects. You can see 7.4 million ounces M&I, 3.8 million ounces of inferred. We're spending most of our time advancing two main projects. The first is SPRINGPOLE, which is a 5 million ounce deposit located about 100 kilometers east of Red Lake in northwestern Ontario. This is a big open pit project. If it were producing today, it would be the third largest open pit gold mine in Canada. 5 million ounce project that we've scoped capable of producing more than 400,000 ounces a year. This is big enough to be meaningful to everyone. And the second project we're drilling at, continuing to drill at, is Goldlund, which is one of the highest grade open pit targets in open pit deposits in Canada. Again, great infrastructure just off the highway between Dryden and Sioux Lookout. Very industrious part of northwestern Ontario and a great place to be developing. And we have 4 other main projects that all have resources well understood. We'll talk very briefly about those. I think we're trading at a really compelling fundamental value, and we'll talk a bit about that and have a team in place that we're able to unlock that value. The current market cap is about $150 million, a little bit, about 6 million, ended the year with about 6 million of cash in the bank. Very liquid. We trade in excess of 1 million shares a day on the TSX and another, more or less 500,000 shares OTC in the US. And our shareholder base, many of which have been with us for a long time, dedicated shareholders, and a lot of followers of Keith Neumeyer, our chairman. And obviously Keith has a great following. First Majestic is a 2.4% shareholder, and management and directors own 3.2%. Lots of which has been purchased in the market and in financings ourselves. So analyst coverage from 4 analysts, and I think it's important to understand, if you haven't followed how this company came together, Keith Neumeyer and a few people in 2015, if we all remember how dire this conference was in early 2016, it was really the bottom of the equity markets, and they decided they were going to acquire a bunch of undervalued projects. So funded a small public company and acquired 8 companies or projects in 12 months, and that actually gives the endowment that we have today. And we like pointing to this fact. Just someone says, do you think there's really a chance that your stock could go up 4x? Well, this same collection of assets at the time of the last acquisition had a market cap of $630 million. So today we're trading at about 150. You can see a big disconnect between the move in gold and our share price. We don't think that's warranted. I think that all speaks to when capital starts coming back to the development sector, and capital's been fleeing the development sector since about 2012, but when it starts coming back to look for opportunities to really build real projects, you're going to see meaningful revaluation in projects like ours. So currently trading at about $10 an ounce. And listen, there's a lot of great companies exploring around here, having great exploration success, but I would tell you from a risk-reward perspective, owning resources in the ground, if you can buy them this cheap, this is a really rare opportunity. So you can see we're obviously trading at the very low end of relative valuations to our peers. And we've got a lot of fundamental value in the portfolio of the other assets that basically doesn't really see the light of day. So we've come to recognize we need to do a better job of surfacing some of the value of our Hope Brook and Pickle Crow and Cameron projects, all of which on their own, million-ounce resources in great jurisdictions, in their own public company in rational times would be 30 to 50 million market cap companies at least. So we'll talk a little bit about SPRINGPOLE. This is one of the largest undeveloped open pit gold projects in Canada, an area of great infrastructure. We're about 35 kilometers from a road and a power line, 100 kilometers east of Red Lake. This is a great place to develop. Our updated PEA, which we put out in October, had an after-tax NPV at $1,300 gold of $841 million. And that, you see some of the gold price leverage that this project has, it really is very impressive. So we're currently taking SPRINGPOLE through a pre-feasibility process, and have a goal of this year, the end of this year, early next year, submitting our environmental impact statement and starting a pretty firm 2-year permitting process in Ontario. I think Ontario is one of the best places in the world to permit projects. They permitted 3 big open pit mines in Ontario in the last 3 years. So just to show a little bit about SPRINGPOLE, this is the development plan. It's a very tidy footprint for a mine of this size. And one of the things, if anyone's looked at SPRINGPOLE in the past, you know the development plan involves building a couple of small cofferdams and dewatering a small bay of a lake. For a lot of people, this is a psychological hurdle. They perceive the risk of this, and obviously it's been well known since the deposit was discovered under this bay of the lake, but 8 years of environmental baseline work, an enormous amount of study on moving this project forward. We've had a very successful PEA that we're moving into PFS now, and I think we're going to demonstrate to people that this is a project that can be permitted with the support of our Indigenous communities. So lots of upside here. And one of the things that makes SPRINGPOLE different than a lot of other big open pits, this is basically one big homogeneous ore body. It's 100 to 200 meters wide, it's a couple of kilometers long, and when you're in it, you're in it. So that translates into short hauls, it translates into lower mining cost. It's a really interesting ore body that we're now going through some optimization processes on, and expect to have the PFS done at the end of the year. So this is just some of the metrics. I won't spend too much time on this, only to say, in a $1,500 gold environment that we're in right now, this is an after-tax NPV of $1.2 billion and a 28% IRR. This is one of the biggest undeveloped projects, as I said, and this just lays out the timeline that we've said. So looking for permitting toward the end of this year, submitting the EIS, and finishing our PFS. We're also drilling on our Gold Lund project. Had some very good success at Gold Lund last year, stepping out 10 kilometers off the main deposit. But even without the expansion, this is 800,000 ounces at almost 2 grams, open pittable just off the Trans-Canada Highway, and a great place to build a mine. I'll just show very briefly, this gives a bit of a sense of the regional perspective. It's these big regional structures where we are going to continue to find more gold here. As evidenced by some of the resource that we have there, just conscious of time, but shows 10 kilometers along where we had drill results last year, like 200 meters at 1.57 grams from surface, 40 meters of 4 grams in an open pit target. These are some of the best drill results in Canada that people didn't particularly appreciate, and certainly didn't see any impact in our share price. The other projects won't really have time to get through them, but these are each real resources in great jurisdictions that can be moved forward. So thanks very much for your time, and much appreciated.